oh, wait a minute, this is in English, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're learning this evening the Dvar Malchus, that's say the Sikhas from Toshin Nun and Toshin Nun Beis, Toshin Nun Aleph. We're learning this evening the Teichen of the Sikha from Parshas Pinchas, which in the year Toshin Nun Aleph, Shabbos Mavochim, Menachem Ol. And the learning is taking place in the base Knesset, Chabad Tsfat here. And this evening is Yom Chamishi Be'erev Le'yom Kol Aleph Lo Kol Beit. Kol, I'm sorry. Lekov Tammuz Toshinayim Zayin.
Okay.
All right, so before we begin the learning, I've been requested by certain people to say both at the beginning and the end something tamchiti, as it's called in Hebrew, something very essential and summing up. Something like sums up a leading theme or central point in the Sikhas of the Rebbe, even though that's very difficult to do. But again, to the Sikhas, due to their length and to their complexity, to anybody who has tried to learn Be'iyun, one of the Sikhas of the Dvar Malchus. But however, I'm going to make an attempt to say like a summing up word at the beginning, and then we'll get down to work with everybody's patience, kamur. And that is that there was a famous Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov, what he is buried here in Tveria, Yerakoidesh, and he was one of the Talmudim Mufhokim of the Baal Shem Tov, ad kei kach that he was very trusted personally by the Baal Shem Tov beneged to certain personal inyanim affairs, and he, his name was Rebbe Nachman Horodenke was his name, and he was the first to begin the Chassidish Aliyah to Eretz Israel. He was able to live in Eretz Israel sometime, quite a long time, before Reb Mendel Vitebska arrived in Eretz Israel with 300 mishpachas. But that was considered the main and big beginning of the Chassidish Aliyah to Eretz Israel. Kiyadua, or Mefurusam, the whole Nasi of Mendel Vitebska to Eretz Israel. But he was preceded by Reb Nachman Horodenke and Reb Menachem Mendel Premishlana, not to be confused with Meir Premishlana. Meir Premishlana was a great personality, but he was later. But very early amongst the leading Talmidim at the Baal Shem Tov, there was a great personality called Rebbe Menachem Mendel Premishlana. He came up together. He came to Israel together with Reb Nachman Horodenke. So there's a well-known word from Reb Nachman Horodenke, and that is that it's written that when after Moshe Rabbeinu had broken the first luchos, and then he was told after he'd been on the mountain for a further 40 days, and he asked for slicha, mechila for the Jewish people. Then he was told by the Eibishter to cut a new pair of luchos, and he took them up for another 40 days, which began on Rosh Chodesh Elul, Kiyadua, and they completed on Yom Kippurim when Moshe Rabbeinu brought down the luchos. So it's written that the Eibishter said to Moshe Rabbeinu that the Alisa al Har Sinai Vayisa Shom I've just forgotten the answer of the pasuk. Al Chaponim, he said you should be there. Vayisa Shom al Rosh Har. So the question is, why did he need to say Vayisa Shom, and you should be there? It's obvious that if he has to take the luchos up to the top of the mountain, that Hashem meant him to be there for a given period of time. Why did Hashem have to say to him, V'hoyish Hashem? So said Reb Nachman Horadenka in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, that he said that means that wherever you are, you've got to be there. In other words, it's very easy to be somewhere and yet not really be there. In other words, that you're there for all sorts of motivations that could arise in human affairs, but you're not necessarily completely there. And even more than that, you're not completely there with everything you have. You've got to be there completely with everything you got. In other words, that you're there and you're not anywhere else, even with the Yechidah Shebenevesh, with everything. That's where you are, or Torah Rega. And that's how we're required to do things in all matters of Avodas Hashem and learning, that whatever we're in, we're going to be in it to the end, and with everything we got. And then it's right to say that you're there. But if you're there, but you're a little bit elsewhere, and part of you is somewhere else, and part of you is thinking of what I need, anything that could in any way interfere, then that means you're not there. Doesn't it? That means you're not there. That's what Reb Nachman Horadenka said, that you got to, wherever you are, you got to be there with everything you got. Tachlis Hashleimas, then you call there. Okay, so that's my summing up word at the beginning of the class. And as we go along, it'll become clear, I hope, why I said that it was like trying to sum up this amazing, complex sikha that we're going to learn in one word. Because the Rebbe brings, I'm going to just mention that now for good measure, because I don't know if we're going to reach that far in what we do, even though we try our best to cover as much as we can. And that is that the Rebbe teaches us a story from the Rebbe Rashab. But the Rebbe Rashab once at a Fabringen was preparing to say a Imam Chassidut, and the Bachurim and the Avreikim who were there were asked to sing. That was customary. Before a month they used to sing Chassidut Shanigan. So the Rebbe Rashab felt, and it was obvious from the singing of the nigan, that they were hurrying a bit. They were hurrying the nigan. It's not like nowadays. In the old days, they were very, very medactic about a nigan. I knew some of the old Hasidim who really knew the nigunim, and they would be very, very particular as to how a nigan was sung. And if people hurried a bit, they would say, or if there was a slight variation in the intonation of a certain part of the nigan, they would immediately correct it. So the Rebbe Rashab felt that the Bochrim were hurrying the nigan. And so he said that you don't have to hurry. When you're hurrying, that's a sign that you're not really there. You're anxious to get to somewhere else. So where you are now, you've got to be there absolutely perfectly. So if the task now is to sing a nigun, you got to sing that with all the perfection that a nigun requires. After that there'll be divrei chassidus. That's the next step down the line. Then we'll be holding by the chassidus with all of our power. But right now we're singing a nigun. We have to sing a nigun with all the involvement. Ad shleimus hanefesh that involved. And the Rebbe goes into the whole detail, and then the Rebbe Rashab added to that, which is, I think, very informative for all of us here. The Rebbe Rashab added to that in Lubavitch they used to call people who were really into things, they used to call them a pnimi. The word pnimi was a known term for somebody who's, really into what the Rebbeim taught us, and particularly what was taught them in Tomchei community, who was really into things. He was called a pnimi. So the Rebbe Rashab said, what is the difference between a pnimi and a chitzoni? Somebody who's not a pnimi. So he said the difference is that a pnimi, wherever he is and whatever he's doing, he's completely in that, and he's not in anything else. That's where he is, and he's nowhere else with all of his powers. That's where he is. And when he'll come to the next step, then he'll go to the next step. But he's not worrying about anything that's going to be even a few minutes away. What colloid that he's in this, in you. And that's a pnimi. That's what the Rebbe says, I am a pnimi. So that's why I felt that I wanted to make those introductory remarks in the name of Reb Nachman Horodenko, because the more you think about it, and the more you deepen your mind in what he said, the more you see that it's a very brief but tremendously profound message. But why did the Abish have to say be there? Obviously if he's going to take the luchas up there, he's going to have to be there. So the Abish said you have to be there. Okay, so now we begin Parshas Pinchas. Bo meduba oidesh chalukas Eretz Israel l'chol shivtei Yisrael. So the Rebbe said one of the main themes in Parshas Pinchas is the division of Eretz Israel and the way and the methodology by which it's going to be divided to all the tribes of the Yidden. And if anybody paid any careful attention, then he noticed that the Parsha in the Torah dealing with that was on Shlishi. And what day was Shlishi?
Tuesday. Shlishi.
What day was Shlishi? Shivasa B'Tammuz. So we see that on Shivasa B'Tammuz, but Shivasa B'Tammuz is the takeoff at the Golas, the takeoff at the morning, what you might call the negativity and the trial of the Golas. Davki on that day, we learned how to divide up Eretz Israel to all the Yidden. So we see that these Inyanim don't show any hispailas from the Golas. No, they live on in a everlastingly real way that we're always dividing up Eretz Israel to all the Yidden. And in that same passage in the Gemara, in Masechta Bava Basra, where it talks about this, the Gemara says that this was the basis of the Chalukah, the dividing up of Eretz Israel amongst all the tribes. And then it immediately says that the Yosid Love, it's going to be divided slightly differently. So the Rebbe asked the question, what's it got to do with it? We're talking right now about how to divide up all of a sudden. Gemara says, "B'liyosid lovi," it's going to be kafa kaf. So the fact that the Gemara mentions those two things right alongside one the other, well, indicates to us that they're inherently connected one to the other. So even though there'll be certain differences, but in order to complete your full understanding of what it means to divide up Eretz Israel, you also have to know what they're going to do, liyosid lovei, how it's equalized together with the division that's going to take part liyosid lovei. And on Tuesday, that's when we learned this thing. So I see everybody takes all these things very could have felt buddies, don't notice any particular surprise on anybody's part. But I found that very, when I saw that, I just, I fell off my chair on Shiva Osa B'Tamaz. We're learning about Akbagero Teicholach HaOretz, the exact opposite of the God's scholars. So he says, Yesh b'vadai, b'kol dora, kekol dora, shevatera hoira. Then we have to say that, like everything else in the Torah, which Torah, the word Torah means hoira, then he said hoira l'kol Yehudi. There must be some tremendous instruction and teaching to any Yid and to all Yidden that can be learned out from how they were going to divide up and how they had to divide up Eretz Israel. And the Rebbe puts in here a very amazing statement in the Sikha. He says that since we're standing right now, al saf hagiula hamid vashlema, we're standing right now on the doorstep. A saf means like a doorstep. We're right on the doorstep of the Geula. That's what the Rebbe said. And he says all the simonim that are brought down in our sages and all sorts of other inyonim all indicate that even somebody who wants to base himself only on what he sees in the Divrei Chazal, then he's also got the best possible reasons to believe that the Geula Shlema is right with us. So the Rebbe says, "Ha'irua ha'peshuta hi yerlin chil Eretz Israel ve'Geula ha'Shlema." Then what do we learn from this Parsha? Our generation now, the way we are, when we learn about this Parsha dividing up Eretz Israel, what does that teach us? That we're going to go into Eretz Israel in the Geula Mitzvah Shlema, and we're going to divide up Eretz Israel to all the Yidden, and including Shevet Levi. Shevet Levi is going to take a part in the actual division, and it's going to be another whole area, a 13th area, given to the Nasi. It's well known that the Nasi, he's going to get a whole chalukah liyatmi, k'mavur sham in the Gemara, in the Masechta Bava Basha. Abba Meir said, the Rebbe, we got to know what we got to do, because we're going into Eretz Israel, and we got to take inheritance of Eretz Israel the right way, al piter, and divide it up. And then the Rebbe says, for some strange reason, the Geula hasn't actually come yet, so we're still in the last moments before the Geula. Torah, and the Torah is everlasting, so it must take into account also that possibility that you can still be in the Golas, but nonetheless, you're holding close to the Geula. Then there must be some very special indication and instruction to those who are still in Golas, but they're right before the actual Geula is about to occur. There must be some very specially individual Indian that we can learn to our generation, who's standing on the doorway of the Geula from the Parsha of the division. Mesupa is told and brought down in a letter from the Rebbe Rayat that the Rebbe Rayat writes in a letter a story about the Tzemach Tzedek, and he says it's told a story that Kasher Niknas Yehudi Ladmor Tzemach Tzedek Ubikesh Es Birchosei Lenasiya Eretz Israel. It's well known that a Yid came into the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek and he requested a bracha to go to and travel to Eretz Israel. And what did he want to go to Eretz Israel for? Because he thought that if he will be in Eretz Israel, Amitzat the Kedusha of Eretz Israel, and the great Mila that there is in Eretz Israel, he will be able to learn day and night. And here in the Golas, he's not much clear to learn in the way that he would really like, etc., etc. So the story has it that he actually, he was almost like how do you call it, a nudge. He got told, I think, twice by the Tzemach Tzedek that he didn't want to answer him right now. And nonetheless, he came back, and I think it was only on the second or third Yechidas that he had with the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek. Then he said to him, what do you have to go to Eretz Israel for, you know? He said, you don't need to go to Eretz Israel. Ono lo ya Tzemach Tzedek, lama l'chol imtzoya le'oret. What do you have to go to Eretz Israel? I say, kan Eretz Israel. The expression in Yiddish was, mach do Eretz Israel, make here Eretz Israel. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek said to this Yid. Yeah, what do you need to go to Eretz Israel for? You should make here Eretz Israel. So the Rebbe is well known, mentions the story in several other Sichas Kodesh. Over here, the Rebbe goes into it very much in what we call the Oivi Hakoira, the thickness of the wall of the whole story to try and get to the bottom. So he said, Sipur zeh, Sipur Admor HaKoidim. That means the Rebbe der Rayat, Milubavitch, V'zuhi gam ho'irua mea parsha. He said that, and we have to assume that since the Rebbe Rayat made that public in a letter, that he said that that's also linked with the general ho'irua from the Parsha itself. Yeah, la'aseish gam kan, b'mokim uzman hagolas Eretz Israel. Since we're holding now before the Geula, and we're ready to go over into the Geula, then we've got a special ho'irua that we're going to make where we are and bring it to a state of being Eretz Israel. We're going to make like a new Eretz Israel out of the particular spot in the Golas, yeah, where we are. And that's going to have certain great values to it, Kamuran, amongst them being that we are going to get used to being in Eretz Israel. Since we're going to make our whole sphere Eretz Israel, then we're going to be, as it were, accustomed and prepared so that when we move over into Eretz Israel, how it's going to be in the Geula, we're already in that, how do you call it, we're in that mood, or even to put it better, we're in that shape, etc., yeah, etc. So therefore says the Rebbe, Nisha, Rach Lahovin, Eiki Tochein, Lasis Eretz Israel, Mimochim Kazeh, Shelafi Ha'alocha, Hi Chutzarat. If you're not in Eretz Israel, then there are all sorts of halachas that apply to Eretz Israel. And those halachas are not applicable in Chutzara. So if you're in a place that's Chutzara, it's Al-Bidin, then how can you make it into Eretz Israel? What does it mean, making into something which is not what you would like it to be? What does it mean to make it into that, especially that halakically it doesn't fit? So that was v'tomid anu mitzapim lo tzeis michutzos. On the contrary, Yidden in all the generations have always been yearning and looking forward to getting out of chutzos. So what's the point of trying to make chutzos into Eretz Israel by this man that the Yidden have always wanted to get out of chutzos, which means that chutzos is like a negative thing, and we want to get away from it. So what would be the milah of trying to make it something that's not? And particularly that you're anxious to get out of it. Ubefrat ko'ez, and especially right now, Shaim dimonu al safa geula. We're standing mamish on the door step of the geula. V'teikim miyad neitze b'poyo michutzara. We're all going to get out of chutzara. Yeah, oret. If we're going to get out of chutzara oret, and that's what we're longing for, and it's just about to happen, then why should we turn back to chutzara and start trying to make something out of chutzara what is not really shayah? V'nagia l'Eretz Israel kipshuta. We're going to reach Eretz Israel kipashtas. And if we're going to go to real Eretz Israel, what's the point of making what you might call how do you call it, unreal Eretz Israel? There's a word in English, I always forgotten.
Imposter.
Yeah, how do you call it, formulated or something. I forgot there's some word in English, very obvious word. You know, of making out of Eretz Israel something which is not real. So that was the Rebbe Shailin Nosefer. There's even a further and additional question that arises itself here. He said, "Bahagrola shehiskaimo al Eretz Israel." That when the Yidden at the time of Yeshua, after they'd conquered Eretz Israel and they were dividing it up, Eiza Shevet Yizkeh be'Eiza Chelik. That was the division. The division was in order to make clear which Shevet is going to get which portion. And how to divide up the whole country fairly amongst the Shvatim. Masafer Rashi tells us a whole series of things that there had to be a division according to the monetary worth of the land, and then you had to have Loza Akoyan had to stand with the Urim v'Tumim, and he had to, as it were, ask in the Urim v'Tumim what was going on, and then he divinely, inspiredly put his hand into two, how do you call it, kupot, like two containers that contained all pitkoim of the Shvatim and the areas. And that was called a goyro, that he just put his hand in and he pulled out. And it just so happened that whatever one he pulled out, that would be the right place for that particular one. So Rashi tells us an amazing thing. Rashi says it wasn't enough that he did it Baruah HaKodesh with the Umim v'Tumim, but there's a further thing, that the petik, how do you call it, the piece of paper that he picked up, Hoya Machris V'Ima, the piece of paper that he picked up, spoke out and said, Ani HaGoyro Alisi L'Chelik Masuya. He said, I am the goyro, the piece of paper spoke. And it said, I am the goyro, and I have been oiler for this tribe, for this particular area. So we see that the goyro itself actually spoke. Now you see everybody's so deep into Balabatish. I mean, you have to realize that this is an amazing thing. And what's even more, such an amazing thing, is that if you look in the Gemara, it's not written in the Gemara though. Not in the Rashbam, and not in the Gemara. It's not written that the actual Goyro actually said anything. That's written in a Medrash Tanchuma. There's a Medrash Tanchuma Oh, that's written. Oh, the Gemara just said that there was Elazar HaKohen with the V'tumim, and there was the Kupot where he drew out from, and that was a Goyrel, and it also was decided by money. There were all sorts of different things, but everything is sort of linked together. The Goyrel went together with the right value and the whole thing. It was all amazing. So therefore, why does Rashi have to bring in to the report of the Gemara something that's not written officially in the Gemara? And he says that the Goyrel itself spoke, that is written in a Medrash Tanchuma, another source, not the Gemara. And so ask yourself the question, Madua Oya Tzorei Benes Zeh? Why did we need a nes that the Goyrel itself, the Goyrel itself, spoke? The Eibusher doesn't make nisim without a very profound reason. Nobody suspected that the girl wasn't right. So maybe you might say, well, we wanted to announce that everybody should realize that this Goyrel is a Goyrel looks like something that's just a chance in it. You put your hand and you pull your hand out. It looks like something almost like a chance. So therefore, the Torah wanted to announce that the Goyrel was really a eminent thing. Al Peter, it's enough that they have the Urim V'tumim with the Elazar HaKohen, and he did it. He was doing it according to the Urim V'tumim. What do you need the Goyrel also to speak? Why does the Goyrel have to say, that I am the Goyrel, and I say that this? The fact is that that's what it was. When he picked it out of the kuppah, that was it. Why did the Goyrel have to say it? And why does Rashi, what he is, the Pshut Shomika, why does Rashi have to bring that in? B'Yivzman was some mention in the Gemara, and Rashi puts that in the middle at a ganze period. So I see that those who are not sleeping are all getting excited, restless. What can we do? We have to keep going. So he says, so ask yourself the question, why did Rashi have to do that? Arigam Belize, Yoru Kol B'nai Yisrael, Sha'agero Ho'yamiti, V'alpi Rotzen Hashem. Everybody knew it, according to the Eibushters. Well, what do you need the girl to talk? Ki Elazar HaKohen, Shabita Etza Hagrola, Ho'yo'ima V'ruach HaKodesh. Oid Lifnei Haromasa Pitkoim. Even before he actually lifted up the Petek, he said, I'm now going to choose a Petek for Shevet Ploini, and that's going to be Mokim Ploini V'Ploini. Where did he know? Because he had on himself the Urim V'Tumim. The Urim V'Tumim told him anyway, and he said beforehand that he's going to pick up this and this thing for this and this tribe. They knew everything anyway. Eiza Shevet, but you he was anyway aware, and he would tell everybody what he's going to be doing for every Shevet. But before it all happened, he doesn't say, why did you need the Goyrel to speak? You couldn't have something more clearly perfect according to divine Hashgacha and the perfection of Hashem's will. More than that, why did you have to have that the Goyrel should speak? No. So the Rebbe said, what could we suggest is a reason why the girl had to speak, and why Rashi sees that to be so important that he has to put it in the Pshuta Shomikra in the midst of all the other factors. V'lochein HaKadosh Baruch Hu tzivo sha'ach b'geirol yechalech es ha'oreh. The Eibusher made a commandment that you have to divide up Eretz Israel amongst the Shvatim by a Goyrel. Now he also commanded that other factors be required also. But he said that one of the chief fact is, it has to be by a girl. And that would have been kept perfectly with what Elazar HaKohen being dressed up in the Yom Matumim. And what he announced to everybody, that would be perfect. Holiday, a perfect keeping of the union of a girl. So he says, Chalukas Oretz Srika Litpatzeya, Avarach, Lafi Pitkoy HaGorel. Okay, Volochain, Ilo Havadoes Bekach Shahagero, Yamiti, Tia Rak Mitzad Ruach HaKohen Shal Elazar HaKohen, Shohoya Maidia Kwa Koinam, Mi Yeskeb Bemer, like we just said. He knew anyway, and he would anyway going to say, so that's fine. That would be called a piagoiru. So the Rebbe said, no, that's not the ultimate perfection of what Hashem meant when he said that it has to be according to Geru. Yeh choser b'shleimus chalukas ha'oreh. Akvarach al pia Geru. There'll still be a lacking in the perfection of the dividing according to a Geru. How? He said, Lochen, Gama Goyrol, or Yotzorik Lohidia, ala mitosai, alidei sheshu, atzmei machriz, boivanisi, mi zochaba, vameh. In other words, the Alterach Pshat and the Rashbam over there in the Gemara, he writes a similar type of inyan, without getting into this whole in the girl spoke. But he said that you have to do everything you can to make sure that the actual division and giving to everybody his piece in Eretz Israel was only according to a girl. And if we rely on Elazar HaKohen, and he pulled up a thing before he even pulled up, he said which is going to go to which, and then he gave to the Nasi of that particular Shevet. It comes to us that all the Yidden in that Shevet, they heard about it from their Nasi, that he was told by Elazar HaKohen, and nobody suspected Elazar HaKohen, because he's got the Urim Tumim. But it doesn't mean that to reach your particular girl as a person in Eretz Israel, that you got it through the girl. You got it through somebody told you about the girl. And therefore, the Rashbam writes that we want that it should be as much as possible that each person should be able to say that he got it through the girl. And therefore, Rashi learned, that the girl had to speak, that it should be as much as possible a reaching of every Yiddish portion through a girl. In other words, that he himself was personally aware of the girl, not that he heard about the girl through some other factor. What that would still mean, that he got it because there was a girl. But the Rebbe is suggesting that we want everything should be as perfect as possible in Hashem's commandment. And since Hashem commanded that it be according to our girl, then we have to do the maximum. Ulam adayin lo yibaru. So the Rebbe, it's still a little bit not 100% clear. Harei hagoyro hu sach hakel dovet stadi. Let's look at it carefully. The goyro itself is not really a value in its own right. The whole inyan of the Goyro is like a side issue, b'shvil l'chalik esorah. The whole reason of the Goyro is in order to divide up Eretz Israel. The main thing is that each person got his piece. That's the division of Eretz Israel. The way to do that was through a Goyro, which means that the Goyro is only a medium in order to reach the ultimate end, and the ultimate end is that each person got his piece of Eretz Israel. So it comes out that the girl, we're not doing anything that the girl should be everlasting. We're only using the girl as a medium to give everybody their part. V'gam hadibur shel hagirl hayadot stadi. It comes out really that the fact that the girl spoke is also like a side issue. B'shvil hochiach es amitis hagirl oy kedei lefarsein. In order to make public, what really belongs to every shevet. Im kein lama ze haya choshu kol kach. Im kein, why was it so important when Sokol Sof, it's only a medium to an end. It's not an end in its own right. Is im kein, why do we have to have a shleimas even in a medium, and not be worried only about what is the shleimus of the ultimate result?
Well, the pasuk says it's al pi. The pasuk says it's al pi agora. The pasuk says it has to be al pi agora. So it has to be only through the agora.
Yeah, al pi agora. Well, Rashi learned about Pinchas that means that the girl has also got to play a role. That's the pshat, and therefore the girl has also got to say something. Al pi hagora. The Rebbe's question is, what is that necessary? It's not necessary, because the girl is only a medium to get to an end. But why would Hashem want that the girl should speak? You follow? What is the
pasuk says, you know, the pasuk is al pi.
I'm sorry, you can't just say kachazeh.
No, it's al pi.
I'm sorry. We need to understand what is the hirah to all Yidden that the girl will have to speak. That a dovet stadi has to become like a leading factor. He said, if the girl would have been a thing all in its own right, for some reason, well, we don't know, but it would have been some very important inyan, without just a medium leading to an end, then we would understand why the girl has to be perfect. It was only in order to reach and to divide up the inyan of Eretz Israel. Im kein matua yochoshiv kol kach lidoig she'amit es hagoyro upirsume yitbatzea davka al yedei hagoro biatma. In other words, the girl itself has to do it. Ma'ara if she'aya mitbatzea al yedei haloza bilvad. I mean, he anyway made it clear what everybody's got, what everybody's getting. Al pi ruach hakodesh from the Urim v'Torah. What do I need this whole in? The tafki the girl has to speak. And what does that teach me? What can I learn out? What sort of a hero can I learn out? That a medium becomes like a ika thing all in its own way. Now, that's a very profound inyan, that here we see that the Torah is insisting that something which is only a medium in itself has to become a ikar. And it itself is a principal matter all in its own right. Ella. Now here they don't quote it, but the Rebbe brings a Rogatchover, and the Rebbe quotes a word from the Rogatchover Goyer. And the Rogatchover said that everything that Hashem wrote in the Torah, it doesn't matter what it is, it has the geda of a mitzvah. Everything that occurs in the Torah is like a mitzvah. In other words, that even the most small and unnoticeable thing in the Torah, if it was written in the Torah, it has a value of its own. And it becomes kilo that we are commanded for that to be. In other words, anything which appears to and so he gives a dogma at the Rogatchover. He said, there were 42 journeys in the desert, from when the Eden got out of Egypt, they reach out. So there's a whole Parshas in the Torah which writes me, we went from here to there, went from there to here, from here to there, and 42 masois, that takes up a big piece of the cloth of the Sefer Torah. So says the Rogatchover, what does that need to be written? Just say that they went from here to, from Eretz Mitzrayim, they traveled around a lot, if you want to mention how many journeys it was, and say they eventually got to Eretz Israel. Elamai, the fact that the Torah writes all these inyonim in, or that means that all those journeys are like a mitzvah to us, that we should learn out from them all sorts of inyanim. And then what's well known from the Baal Shem Tov, and also from the Arizal, that from every prat in the Masoid, you can learn all sorts of pneumistic inyanim, and you're meant to. Like the famous word of the Arizal, when he said that there was a place called Kivrei Satava. They went from here to there, and then he came to a place called Kivrei Satava. That's where they had the lust for the quails, you know, the whole thing. And then when they ate the quails, they all died. That was called Kivrei Satava. So the Arizal said, in the name of a famous saver, the Arizal said that comes to teach us that if you go from here to another place, then you have to bury all the taivas. Kivrot atava. It doesn't mean that the people who had taiva, they got buried. That's what it means in the first case. But it's written in the Torah to teach you that you've got to bury all your taiva. Well, I see nobody seems to be particularly stirred by that. But that's what the Arizal said, that you've got to bury all your taivas. And that's, so what the Arizal means from that is, and that's what the Rogatchover is saying, that if it's already written in the Torah, it's got some mitzvah to teach you, and it gets the gather of the Kedusha of any other mitzvah. And therefore, let's say it's written in the Torah that somebody walked and he fell over a stone or something, whatever's written, and that's a sign that the fact that he fell over the stone, well, that's already a Hoyrah to Ali Yidden, or, you know, whatever he did. You know, Pliny said something to Pliny. Well, that's a mitzvah, and that gains a gera in Kedusha, the right to learn. That's what the Rogatchover said. So the Rebbe says, Sheba Kedusha kol dover, yevelu atzdadi beyoser. Let it be the most, what appears to be a side issue, obvious sideline. Hu mechuven al pi Hashem. It's meant to be in the Torah and to teach us something. Umavela teifes mochim choshu bifnei atzmei. Yeah, and now he brings the dogma I gave you. Kishem shamasois b'midbar shahiura kadesh b'nei Yisrael yagiu la'ad. They have to move around in the midbar only in order to get to Eretz Israel. Yeah, nonetheless, he said, Hayu choshivim chashuvim. They were so important. At kedei kach shemoishe rosham b'diuk es kol ha'masois. Moshe Rabbeinu al pi Hashem. He was told by the Eivos to reckon out es kol ha'masois. Guys, we gotta sort of get together and learn. It's impossible where people just go walking around or let's learn together. He says it's a bit unsettling, you know, when people get up and walk here and walk there. Anyway, whatever. That's the way I learned from my teachers. My teacher would never let me even blow my nose. I had to pay attention the whole time. I'm a shpia.
Didn't you make Bachram stand up so they would not fall asleep?
Huh?
Didn't you make Bachram stand up so they wouldn't fall asleep?
No. Well, I don't know. I think they fall asleep when they stand up and sit down. Anyway, he says, whatever, Ayu chashuvim ad kedei kach, shemoishe rosham b'diuk es kol ha'masois al pi Hashem. Ukashem shehochim, ukashem shehiloches dam ha'korbanos l'mizbeach. The Kohanim, they slaughter the korban in one place, and then they take the dam in a kli. And then the kli is got to be taken to the mizbeach, and it's got to be poured onto the mizbeach. So they're carrying the dam from here to where we pour it onto the mizbeach. Well, that's just a necessity that has to occur. Nonetheless, the halachas adam is considered a mitzvah. And if a kohen when he's carrying the dam from where he slaughtered it to the Mizbeach, if he has a wrong thought, then he can make possible the whole korban. I thought it's a necessary thing anyway. He's got to go from here to there. Let's worry about when he throws the actual dam on the Mizbeach. But that's the real kapara of the korban, is when he throws the dam on the Mizbeach. Oh, that's a kapara. So we say no, that even the movement of the dam, which is a necessary fact anyway, that had to happen b'lavochi, that itself is a mitzvah. And it's not only a mitzvah, but it has an effect on the kashrus of the whole korban. So that's what he says. Rabbi Ukashem, Shahilovas Dama Korbanis La Mizbeach, She Hechreikiyas. It has to be Bishvil Lahobias Adam La Mizbeach. Because they slaughtered the korban in one place, and they had to bring the dam over here. Yeah? So he said, nonetheless, that's considered as a special individual service of the korbanos all on its own. So he says, so says the Rogatchover, going the same as with the goyro. It was only in order to divide up Eretz Israel, it's not the division itself. Nonetheless, next of L'dova mitzvah, L'dova choshuv, ve'ikari, it also becomes a tremendously important and principal part of Befrat Shashem Tzivo La'arei HaGoyro. Yeah, it's written out, Pi Goyro, Yichalok V'Zoret. Hashem demanded that there be the inyan of the Goyro. V'lochein hoyu choshuv kol kach shehu itbatzeya b'shleimas al proto. It never wasn't enough that people knew that there was a lamayla me'ateva thing here called a goyro. There had to actually be the goyro speak itself out and make itself known to Al Yidden by its own announcement of its own self. Meaning that what appears to be just a side issue and a further development of anything that anyway is going to happen, well, that becomes a principal factor, and it becomes something tremendously ikari and demanding. So that's something that I tried to make clear at the beginning of this year, that you've got to be totally involved in whatever you do, Al Pi Torah. Whatever you do, every prat is part of the Torah. As long as what you're doing is Al Pi Torah, that is like a mitzvah, and it gains the kedusha of the Torah. And that's what the Rebbe explains in Kester the girl. So now, says the Rebbe, we need to understand what is the sole inyan of kibush. There are two things here. First of all, the conquering of Eretz Israel, and then the dividing up of Eretz Israel amongst the tribes. So the Rebbe said, let's think for a moment, what does it mean to conquer Eretz Israel? What was Eretz Israel? Eretz Israel is a part of the world that was in the hands of generations of the Canaanim and all the Shiva Ha'umayis that lived in Eretz Israel. And they turned Eretz Israel into a terrible place of Avodah Zarah and Tumas and all sorts of terrible inyan. So what does it mean to conquer Eretz Israel? It means that you take a part of the world that is begolu Yalchaponim in the hands of Tumah and Oivdi Avodah Zarah. And what you do, you make that into Eretz Yisrael. What does that mean? You bring there the inyan of Gilui Elokus Ad Kedi Kach, that becomes a Eretz, what its whole inyan is Yadut. Its whole inyan is only everything connected with the Kedusha of Yidden. So I thought, how do you do that? That's a tremendously difficult task. So therefore, says the Rebbe, once again, when you are a conqueror, then you've got to be devoted to conquering the country. You're conquering with everything you got. if you fight the war of conquering in a way that you're sort of partly involved, but you're also involved in something else, then you don't really conquer that country. You might military speaking, you might have a victory, but you haven't really taken over the country. The whole idea of a kibush is that you have to take over completely. So how can you take over a country completely? Only if you're involved with all of yourself and all of your army and all of your leadership and all of your kehas are there in the actual conquering of the country. Then it's shy to say that you've taken over the country. But if you're not committed in that way, then you haven't really taken over the country. You've had a certain military or otherwise victory. Now the same with the people who live in the country. If you take over that country, they have got to become absolutely subjected to you, subjugated, absolutely entirely to you. But when you conquered the country, but there's still places that they haven't accepted you and they don't really want to be part of you, then it's not really called conquering. In other words, that you've got to also completely alter the whole mentality of the conquered people, that they should realize that from now on, they are bottled to you. And if they're bottled, then they're conquered. What does it mean, Eretz Israel? It means that I have changed the whole nature of Eretz Israel, including the actual Gafni of the country, in such a way that it's all under my rule, and I am entirely involved in it. If it reaches those two things, then it's shy to say that I've conquered Eretz Israel. Then I've made what was unfortunately not good situation into a situation which is Eretz Israel. And now we can begin to picture what the Tzemach Tzedek meant when he said, make here Eretz Israel. What he meant was that you've got to be in complete control of your life in such a way that you are running every detail, and every detail follows and is part of your control. And if you reach a state like that, then you've introduced Eretz Israel into Chutz or you've made Eretz Israel and you've turned that into a Yiddish piece of earth, even though it's not really. But because you brought the whole of your Yiddishkeit into the actual stones, into the actual area through your effort, then you've turned that little piece of the world into a form of Eretz Israel. That's the reason why the goyrel, everything involved, had to be all part and parcel of the perfection of the whole Eden. Everything has got to be complete, and it's got to be a complete and utter conquering. And therefore the goyrel also had to be conquered, as it were. The goyrel also had to speak, and that indicates that you are in absolute and unquestioned control of the whole situation, and then that means that you can alter the whole character of that particular thing that you've conquered, and you can make it a new thing according to what you want and according to what you represent. You can make it into that. That's why the Rebbe said that if we will turn our particular portion of Tefillah B'chutzarot, we'll make it that way which we just described into Eretz Israel, then what we're doing is gradually preparing the whole world for the Geula. And as we're introducing the Geula into the whole world, it's written that when Mashiach will come, Eretz Israel is going to spread into all the other countries. But what does that mean? Eretz Israel is going to spread it to all the other countries. All of a sudden, that's Shalom Aleichem. And what it means that we as Yidden are going to prepare every part of Chutz La'aretz, that it has already the Kedusha of Eretz Israel, and it's already been taken over by the Yadus of Yidden, which means that Liyosid Lovi, the Hashpah of Moshiach, has just got to move in to something that's already prepared for it. It's an amazing idea. When you think about it, and you just misbrain them, what the Rebbe is saying here is unbelievable depth. And this is the preparation. And Davki to our generation, we have to be told that because we're on the footstep of the Geula. So we got to prepare everything. And so the Rebbe said, what does it mean by Baal Mamish and Aveda, that you are involved completely in conquering your part of the world? He said that means that you function a Machshova, Dibur, Umaisa. And he doesn't say you have to function with the Yechida Shebenevet. Yechida Shebenevet, that's another calculation. The main thing that a mensch lives with every day is Machshova, Dibur, Umaisa. And he said you've got to become a united front where your Machshova, your Dibur, and your Maisa are all one united front. You realize what that means? I mean, just look at what happens during the day. Your Machshova is in one place, what to say is something else, what you do if you do anything. Yeah? Now, says the Rebbe, Machshova, Dibur, Maisa, all going to be one united front. What you think, that's what you say, and what you say, that's what you're going to do. And it's all going to become Poel Mamish, and then you conquer a guy who's like that. He's a conqueror. He will conquer, and he will turn each portion of the world into Eretz Israel. Avamela, it's already prepared for Moshiach, and therefore Moshiach is going to move in later all over the world, because it's all like portions, it's all little pieces of Eretz Israel. And so it's not an impossible task. If the Rebbe would have said, and I would have found somewhere in the whole Sikha that he's saying, listen, you guys got to wake up with the Yechida Shebenefesh, you know, you got to become a who knows what, and this. But he said, no, Machshova, Dibur, Umaisa. He said, you got to work, that's what I meant is, with your Machshova, Dibur, Umaisa, conquer your life, that you be a united front, then you're going to turn the world into Eretz Israel, wherever you are, and that's what the tzaddik man make here Eretz Israel. It's just absolutely mind-blowing, and that's why it is that the Queer will have to speak. For us, everything's got to be a united front. Even the smallest detail, you got to cover it. The smallest detail is a mitzvah of Torah. You got to make that also speak. Everything's got to be expressed. The Olam Adayim. That's the Indian. That's an amazing idea. It's a very, very complex thing and very, very long. We've only covered, but I've tried to look a little bit ahead towards the end and also tell you what's like the main message. And then the Rebbe said that that's the whole Indian of preparing for the Gula Shleima. That's the emes way for each individual to prepare for the Gula Shleima, that in his Machshova, Dibur, Umaisa, he makes sure that everything he does is to make every Inyan mentioned according to Torah and Kedusha, to make it a mitzvah, to make it a in that you've got to carry out Al Kedusha Yevashleima. Avamela, that's a very amazing idea. It's very powerful union that everything is going to become like a mitzvah. It's all important. In other words, there's no such thing as just a little something that's not important. Everything is important. Everything is Aika. Yeah. So therefore, I was requested by somebody that when I when I finish the class, I should also sum up, like in one word, something that will express what we learn. So there's a famous statement by the Polish Chassidim that they say that in Committal Kov Zion, in Tehillim, chapter 27, in Tehillim we say during El, the Hashem, David, Hashem Yishi. So it's written over there, and this is already part of the Fabring. It's written over there that we say, Al tat bi'af avdecha. Don't cast me aside with anger. That's what it means. Tat. Ba'af avdecha. So I think it was Baron Kalina. That's what I think. He said, what does it mean? Al tat ba'af. Don't, the word af can mean another thing. It can mean also. Af can mean also. It doesn't mean anger, but it can also mean also. So, oh tat, don't throw your servant into also. Hey, come on, you guys, you're all fashloven. Don't throw me that I will say about anything also. So come. No, everything is a ikar. There's no also. There's no, oh, that also, yeah, that's also good, you know, lama lo. No, everything is ikar. Everything is principally important. And therefore, I'll tat me up. Don't throw me into saying, oh yeah, that's also good. And there's no also. Everything is the ikar. Everything that's got to do with Moshiach, doesn't matter, it may appear to be the smallest little thing, but we have to make it into a ikar.
Shia Melech.
Shia Melech Moshiach. That's the ganze.
Ay, Yafi Adonenu.
Here. So remember that also doesn't exist now.
Also doesn't exist.
Yep.
But I understand.
Everything is principle.
Yehuda the sugar.
Oh man.
Wallpaper today.